Hello students, we are meeting again for our next lecture of UV visible spectroscopy. In the previous lecture we have seen the introduction, then theoretical background, then applications of Beer-Lambert law, then different parts of the spectrophotometer instrumentation, then single beam colorimeter, single beam spectrophotometer, then double beam spectrophotometer, then comparison of colorimeter and spectrophotometer. This completes the half part of the chapter, and in the remaining half is a bit easy and can be completed within one video, that is applications of this UV visible spectroscopy for estimation. In that, first we'll see the estimation of boron. Estimation of boron. So how boron is estimated, which is present in steel. So whenever steel is prepared, you have to estimate the boron present in the steel. So here a small quantity of boron is added when steel is manufactured. So colorimetric method is used to determination of this boron. So here the coloring reagent, as I told you, in colorimeter, coloring reagent is very important, and here it is for boron. The coloring reagent is 111 dianthrimide. 111 dianthrimide. So this reagent is used for coloration of boron, which get colorated in the presence of concentrated sulfuric acid and form greenish yellow to blue color complex. Okay, and it has lambda max at 620 nanometer, and which forms greenish yellow to blue colored complex. Okay, so this is used for estimation of steel, estimation of boron in steel. Rest of the things are mentioned in the book. The procedure is given. The reagents are dianthrimide is used, and here in the same way you have to plot the calibration curve for standard as well as the unknown sample, and you can find it. Okay, then next is estimation of chromium. Estimation of chromium uh, present in steel. How it is estimated? So chromium content in steel is oxidized by perchloric acid to dichromate. Small quantity of chromium is to be determined spectrophotometrically at lambda max. This is found determined at 545 nanometers. Okay, the lambda max is 545 nanometer by using diphenyl carbazide. 1,5-diphenyl carbazide reacts in acidic medium with chromium to give violet solution. It forms violet solution. And what is the coloring reagent? That is 1,5-diphenyl carbazide. Here the coloring reagent is 1,5-diphenyl carbazide. So again the procedure is given in the book. The solution forms violet color, and you can go for its estimation using the UV visible spectrophotometer. Okay, and you need 0.2% solution of this coloring reagent, then standard chromium solution, then 0.02 molar potassium permanganate, and sodium azide solution, which is 0.2% weight by volume. So using that, once violet color, see the procedure for every estimation is different, because how to bring about the coloration of the required analyte, that is important. So otherwise the method is same. You have to prepare the standard as well as unknown solution and plot the calibration curve and estimate it. Okay. Nowadays very sophisticated instruments are there. You need not to plot the curve directly. You get the value on readout display, and you can find out the concentration. Okay. Then next is estimation of estimation estimation of ammonia. How to find ammonia in water. How to find ammonia in water. So for that, estimation of ammonia in water, you have to treat the ammonium solution with mercury iodide in potassium iodide as a reagent, and this forms the Nessler reagent. So here what is used? Nessler reagent. Nessler reagent, I hope all of you know very well Nessler reagent. You use that Nessler reagent in organic qualitative analysis for the determination of this potassium. Okay. Not potassium, you use the Nessler reagent for detection of ammonia. Okay. Same is the CT for ammonia. I hope you know that Nessler reagent is. When you treat mercury iodide in presence of potassium iodide, okay, it gives orange brown or reddish brown product. The reaction of ammonia with Nessler reagent can be it is given in the book. You can read it. The procedure is also given in the book. Again, the by plotting the calibration curve you can estimate the ammonia. But this same Nessler reagent test is used in case of uh, uh, confirmatory test. It is used as a confirmatory test for ammonia also. Okay. Then similarly you can go for estimation of estimation of chloride. How to find out chloride? It is very interesting to find out the chloride. Okay. What you have to do, you have to treat this chloride with thiocyanate, mercury thiocyanate. Okay, you have to treat this with mercury thiocyanate in presence of Fe2 plus ion. So what happens? This chloride, okay, replaces this cyanide. This chloride replaces this cyanide, and this cyanide reacts with Fe. That is very interesting. And that FeSCN, this FeSCN gives the this gives the color it gives the color to the solution, and the intensity of color is proportional to chloride ion. More the chloride ion, uh, more the replacement, and more the thiocyanate ion thiocyanate will form. Okay. So here that gives the color, and uh, so that is measured at 4, you can see here it is measured at 460 nanometer. Okay. So you can form the solution here, and you can measure the concentration of chloride by plotting the calibration curve. Similarly you can go for estimation of amine. Estimation of amine is very famous, and you know it. If primary amine is there, it undergo formation of orange red dye stuff. You know that orange red dye. Okay. It is a test for primary amine using sodium nitrite. Okay. So when you treat that, but very commonly used for estimation of amine is naphtha. You can naphtha. Okay, you can use it with using 1 naphtha quinone. Naphtha quinone. So you can use it. Okay, and that forms the color. So when you add naphtha quinone, okay, it absorbs at 450 nanometer. It absorbs at 450 nanometers. Okay, so you can go for estimation. Then you can go for estimation of phenol. How phenol is estimated? Using 4 amino phenazone. 4 amino phenazone. Okay, so when you treat this phenol with 4 amino phenazone, it gives yellow or amber color solution depending on the concentration. Okay, so that can also be determined using this colorimetric method, which absorb at 460 nanometer. This also absorb at 460 nanometer. This I forgot here. This is also forming yellowish complex coloration. So these are the different methods you can use. Very interesting thing is that spectrophotometric titration. How titration is different. So here estimation of copper using EDTA. Okay, when EDTA is used, when EDTA is treated with copper, it gives the absorbance at 660 nanometers. Then lambda max is 6. So what happens actually, in a cuvette you have to take copper solution, okay, maintain the buffer and everything, and from burette, okay, from burette you have to add EDTA. Okay, so at after and for addition of every 0.2 ml, for addition of 0.2 ml you have to measure the absorbance, means 0, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6 like that, and go on measuring absorbance A, B, C, D like that. Okay, so this graph you have to go on plotting after the addition. So you can see that initially sorry, here you have to take volume of EDTA, ml of EDTA. So what happens, initially absorbance goes on increasing, and after a certain point it remains flat. So this is that maximum point, means after that when absorbance remains same, there is no need of further addition of EDTA, because after this point excess addition of EDTA doesn't form the complex, means up to here only you get the required amount of this, gives the maximum volume of EDTA required, and by calculation you can find out the concentration of copper. Okay, so this is very interesting, that spectrophotometric titrations are also very interesting. Okay, so after that, two small points are left that you can prepare at home. I will keep it as assignment, you prepare at home, and will solve. So what you do, you solve the problems from the book. If you have any problem, you can ask me. We'll organize one session if you find it necessary regarding solving the numerical problems. Okay, so for time being we'll stop here. This is the last video of this chapter, then I will let you know what to do in the next lecture. Okay, thank you.